We're going to talk about state of blockchain in Korea. Next to Simon is Dr. Kim Jong-hyun. He is from IITP. It's a government institution that designs research and development funding in ICT area. And Dr. Kim is in charge of blockchain R&D programs, which allocated like 40 million US dollars this year. And next is Mr. Ho-seok Chung. He is the managing partner of Seum Law, a law firm specialized in advising tech startups. And he gave legal advice to most of Korean blockchain projects since 2014, right? 2013, 2014? 13. So, okay. So he has most experience among Korean lawyers in the blockchain industry. So my first question is for Simon. I'd like to take a look back at 2017. We all know that crypto trading was the hottest in Korea, hottest in the world. And I think Koreans were more active in trading altcoins especially. What's your thought about it? I mean, how did it happen? You gave a lot of explanation on the backgrounds, but what I'm curious is, are Koreans really early adopters of new technology, or do they just love to gamble?
So this could be a summary of my presentation just before. So there are many technical reasons and also historical reasons. So Korea is a very hyper-connected country, and we have a fastest internet connection and highest smartphone penetrations and extra. But I want to also mention about this is not that official comment, but Koreans like gamble that much. So in national holidays like New Year's holidays or Korean Thanksgiving, Korean came together and do Korean card games with real money. So actually, I played a lot with my families in national holidays. So, but gambling is strictly illegal in Korea. So I think this made kinds of side effects to the trading in stock market and derivative market, and also in crypto trading as well. So I can mention that 4 years ago, some years ago, in the derivative market, Korea hit the #1 trading volume in derivative market in the world. That means I think Korean really like gamble.
Okay, so you have 4 gamblers on stage right now. So next question is to Ho-seok. Crypto prices in Korea was higher than the rest of the world in 2017, and many people call it kimchi premium. It was like more than 10%, and sometimes it was even more than 20%. So, and Korean government specifically pointed this out while raising its concerns about crypto. But we barely had a chance to talk about how that happened. In my common sense, if Bitcoin price is higher in one country, there will be lots of arbitrage trading going on, and the price should go down eventually, so making it even. But that didn't happen. That didn't work in Korea. What do you think was the reason?
There was a kimchi premium at the end of 2017 through the beginning of 2018. But this is no longer the case. In fact, I understand the cryptocurrency prices are slightly lower in Korea than in other countries. At the time of the kimchi premium, I received many requests for advice on how to sell crypto in Korea and transfer the fiat back overseas for arbitrage. But the foreign exchange laws prohibited, made it legally impossible to do. Obviously, it is such transaction could be done without disclosing the true nature of the transaction, but it could be subject to criminal penalties. As we provide this advice, I wondered what was the cause for the kimchi premium and had many two thoughts. First, Koreans tend to be more attractive to new technology and speculative investment than other countries. Second, Koreans are restricted from buying crypto with fiat from overseas, which caused the price difference.
Okay. So crypto could come in, but the fiat couldn't get out of Korea, so
Yes,
they kept the price high
right.
for a long time, right? Simon, crypto bubble popped early last year, and many people lost their money, just like many people in this room. And considering the amount of money that vanished, I think the impact was not that bad. I mean, it wasn't as chaotic as it was after financial crisis in 1997 or after the dot-com bubbles in early 2000s. There were many people killing themselves at the time, like in 1997 or 2001, 2002. But we couldn't hear anything like that last year. So it was rather quiet and calm. So how was that? I mean, do you think many Koreans still believe in the future of crypto?
So I think it totally depends on the characteristic of each people and also belief about the long-term future of crypto technology of each people. So I have many crypto investor friends in Korea. Some of them totally left the industry, quit the job in the blockchain space. But some of them are still very bullish about the future of blockchain space. One of my advisors in United States, Bay Area, is David Lee. He is one of the legendary angel investor of the from the dot-com bubble. He angel invested in Facebook, Airbnb, Pinterest, and so many legendary IT companies. He truly experienced the whole dot-com bubble and also burst and the regrowth of these kinds of companies. There were so many IT companies' employees left out the industry when dot-com burst, but that doesn't mean that failure of the IT industry at that time. So I believe the similar things will be happening in the blockchain space. As an investor, one of our goals is finding the next legendary platform players in the blockchain space. They could be on next level of Google, Facebook, and even on Amazon.
Okay, and what's the status of ICOs in Korea now? Korean government banned ICO. What's the effect? Hosa, would you go first?
Yes. The Korean government stance toward the ICOs has been consistently been to prohibit the ICOs as a means of fundraising. But the Korean government has not provided any legal basis for this. Currently, there are almost no ICO projects in progress in Korea. This does not seem to be the result of the regulatory issues, but rather the declines of the cryptocurrency market. Also, many ICO projects that could not get their tokens listed, and even more that could not maintain token prices after listing. I also think the limitation of Korean won deposits on cryptocurrency exchanges reduced the size of the cryptocurrency market, and which made the ICO project less profitable.
And Jonghyun?
Yes. The other side of the ICO, our government looked at the future of the blockchain technology itself. So our government should do something to develop the blockchain technology for our country to be a leading country in the world. So our government try to spend some money to help our Korean company to develop blockchain technology, but it's not easy to find a way or area in the blockchain technology to support. So our government should look at the area which the companies cannot develop the technology which are risky or challenging or which are uncertain. So the government start funding those projects to develop blockchain technology for Korean companies.
Okay. Simon, are you
Yeah.
still
So
investing?
so literally, Korean government banned ICO based in Korean companies. So all the Korean companies doing their ICO using a vehicle outside of South Korea, such as Singapore, Gibraltar, Malta, and extra. So ICO ban is not that effective law in the space. So it just costs more resources such as time and money for Korean founders. So I believe blockchain industry is very competitive industry, and the founders should focus more into the core competency, such as business development and technology. But in this environment, Korean founders have very big disadvantages than other countries' founders. So I really Korean government solve this problem.
Okay. Jonghyun, the Korean government is funding quite big money in blockchain research and development. And what's the government's view or expectations in the future of blockchain technology?
Yes. As we see the issues or limits of the current blockchain technologies, there are so many limitations, like the transaction processing speed and the scalability, and also some cryptocurrency issues, which is not stable in the price. So our government is trying to solve this problem, which are very challenging, but we want to solve the issues we saw in the past. So we are trying to spend monies in 3 different areas. First one is technology development, and the second one is a pilot project, which we can prove the blockchain technology through the public services area. And the third one is for the education. So we are trying to spend some money on the college and the university, graduation school to educate people. So our spending maybe growing more, and then in the near future we are spending about $100 million per year on this blockchain technology, and we can grow. We believe we can grow our business for Korean companies in the near future.
Okay. Simon, Samsung Electronics mounted the crypto wallet in their new smartphone, and Korea's dominant mobile service company, Kakao, like Jason Han was just on stage right before you, and they are launching their own public blockchain and token. It looks like the biggest companies in Korea are starting to jump into crypto business. And what kind of changes do you expect in the near future?
As I mentioned in my presentation, the number one change is bring the real or mass adoption based on their existing users. So for Clayton, they can bring more than 50 million users of KakaoTalk, and Line, they can bring, for Link, they can bring 180 million users of Line's real users. And also Samsung Galaxy S have a tremendous users in their cellular phone as well. However, one of the other big impact from their challenge is that they want to solve is user experience problem. So one of the biggest roadblock for the end users to entering the blockchain space is installing the crypto wallets on their smartphone or PCs, and also save their private keys for Bitcoins and Ethereum and other blockchains. So it's a very hard work. I cannot push my mother or father or my grandfather to save their private key outside or somewhere. So the beauty of Clayton and Link is Clayton is integrated with KakaoTalk, and Link is integrated with Line, and users don't need to save their private key outside of somewhere. So the platform save automatically their private key instead of users. So this is not that ideal for the decentralization, but it's the very unique and strength for the user experience, I think. One of the other user experience side, for the Clayton, they have a unique architecture to send gas fees instead of users. The service provider can pay gas fees instead of users. So this is also a very unique strength of these kinds of platform for the user side. Also, Samsung's blockchain wallet is pre-installed in all the Samsung's Galaxy smartphones. I've seen the news that Samsung have a plan to distribute their blockchain wallet, not only Galaxy S10, also the other older model of Galaxies. So anyway, these kinds of change will make the easier space for the new users jumping into the crypto space.
So Simon thinks Korea can lead mass adoption of crypto. But internet and mobile adoption was very fast in Korea, and some Korean companies were first to introduce new business models, as Simon showed you earlier. But there are not many Korean companies that are leading the IT or mobile industry on global scale, besides like smartphone manufacturers, Samsung Electronics. So what do you think about this? And do you think blockchain and crypto is going to be different than internet or mobile?
As we all know, Korea did well in manufacturing era. So making something in a centralized manner, Korean companies made a big success, such as Samsung, LG, Hyundai Motors, and POSCO, and Extra. These kinds of companies made a huge success in the last decades. But we are facing a new era of platform economy. That means in these days, most of the big companies in the world and also fastest growing companies in the world, the community is much more important than their employees. So I'll give you some examples. In YouTube, the streamers' work is much more important than employee of YouTube. In Amazon, the sellers are not employee of Amazon. They make a real revenue for Amazon. Drivers of Ubers are not also employee of Ubers, and the sharing host of Airbnb are not also their employees. So the new challenge is how to incentivize communities by decentralized manner. So traditional Korean big companies, not only South Korea companies, most of the Asian companies are not that trained in these kinds of business situation. So this should be another big challenge for Korean big companies like KakaoTalk or Line or Samsung Galaxy and extra. So they have to build their different DNA and culture to nurture the decentralized community.
Okay. Hosak, crypto is colliding with laws and regulations like in every countries. And are there some unique regulations in Korea that affects blockchain and crypto?
Based on my discussions with governmental officials, the Korean government has no plan to pioneer its policies related to cryptocurrency. Instead, the Korean government position is to wait and to follow the leads of the US, Japan, and other jurisdictions. In the meantime, the Korean government is primarily focused on the prevention of money laundering and fraud. Last Friday, the Korean government announced that they will propose to the National Assembly bills related to anti-money laundering with cryptocurrency. There are currently no laws that directly regulate the cryptocurrency. However, the cryptocurrency may be regulated under existing laws such as securities laws and criminal laws. But since the status of cryptocurrency is unclear, in many cases, it is unclear that which regulations apply. But the Korean government and the Korean government has not provided any legal standard to distinguish a security token and a utility token and for prohibition of ICOs. There are two key points regarding cryptocurrency regulation in Korea. First, the Financial Services Commission prohibits the financial institutions such as funds or banks from investing, possessing, and trading the cryptocurrency. Second, the foreign exchange laws require the Korean residents engaging a certain international transaction to report to and obtain the clearance from the bank. But the policy of all banks is to refuse to clear any transaction to the cryptocurrency.
Okay. So for the last, I think it's time for us to finish up. Would you guys share your thoughts on the future of blockchain technology or crypto assets in Korea? So all three of you. You want to go first?
I think blockchain technology as a part of the IT sector has a bright future. I believe it will have a big effect on everyday life, just like with AI and the sharing economy. Although the cryptocurrency market is slow, I still see many startups seeking to develop the blockchain technology, and many large companies and public institutions launching the business based on blockchain technology.
Yes, Korea demonstrated our passion on the blockchain through Kimchi Premium already, and if we successfully turn this into a blockchain technology development, I think we can lead the world in terms of the blockchain, because every people in Korea already experienced the essence of the blockchain and how they can earn the money. So now, if the blockchain can change the whole society, and then people may start working on this blockchain technology development, and they can use this blockchain to develop new services based on the blockchain. So I think our future is very bright, and we can lead the blockchain industry based on our internet capabilities and IT capabilities.
This is a session for Korean market, so I want to focus about the Korean situation. So to be honest, I don't believe the core technology in the blockchain space will not come from Korea. Yes, okay, I'll say again. So I don't believe the core technology will come from Korea. So as a global investor, I see most of the good technical projects and good philosophies usually come from the United States, especially from Bay Area. However, as I mentioned, in late 1990, there are many creative applications came out from South Korea on top of the internet technologies. So I have a strong belief that Koreans are very good at developing these kinds of very unique application on top of certain core technology at the very early stage. So I think there are huge application in the application sector in the Korean blockchain industry. As I mentioned in my presentation, Korea is a unique influence in the using our culture. So these days, K-food and K-pop became more popular and popular, not only South Korea but outside all the world. So for example, BTS is so popular even in South America as well. So I believe that we have a strong culture and we can build a strong applications using our own strengths on top of blockchain technology.
Okay. So let's. Someone have questions for the person? Okay. Sure. Yeah.
Question for Simon. Can you discuss kind of update on what's going on with the Icon project? Especially you talked about Clayton and you talked about obviously Plenty. Those are massive projects, obviously. But ICX, what's your thought on there now?
Yeah, so the nature of Icon is a bit different from Clayton and Link. So Icon is naturally started with the B2B integration business in Korean market. So I think they are doing very well in terms of B2B sector in the blockchain service, in blockchain area. So these days, there are so many big blockchain infrastructure projects from big Korean companies or even Korean government. Usually, Icon Loop win the project. So, but yeah, so they have their own strengths. So I think they build their own blockchain community based on the B2B sector for the Icon side, and Link and Clayton, they are building their own community from the B2C sector.
That's a question? Yes. Sure.
So you mentioned earlier that there was a lag back in 2017. There was a lag in regulations for cryptocurrencies. When fast forward to today, there were some banning of ICO happening, and you also mentioned that regulation is based pretty much on
government to help form the rules and regulations over there? Is there an association that handles it?
Actually, I'm one of the board member of Korean Blockchain Association. Yeah, so there are so many efforts of this type of blockchain associations in South Korea, but to be honest, it's very tough work to suggest some better regulation for the government. So some of the big department in government are really hate blockchain technology in their nature. In example, the Department of Justice or Department of kinds of SEC in South Korea. So I think it needs some more time. So usually in Korea, tends to follow the regulation from the United States. So I think the SEC in United States is much more aggressive to accept the technology, and I heard their philosophy: do no harm the new technology. So I have a strong belief that the United States government will make a better ground rule for the all government, not only in South Korea, I think.
There's a presidential advisory committee on industrial revolution, and there are like 3 new members got joined the committee earlier this year and from the blockchain industry. But actually, there's Mr. Song Ho Chang sitting next to you. He's been in the National Assembly, and he's been the congressman in the last terms. And we just had a talk this morning that committee is not really working because the government is not giving it the proper authority to manage other divisions within the government. So, yes, it's tough, and as Simon said, I do agree that the Korean government will follow what comes from U.S. or from other countries. Yes.
How is banking in crypto in South Korea? I have heard that it's challenging and that there is some sort of government involvement for that. I've heard different things from different people, and I guess I just want to hear your opinions on it and how does that affect innovation if it's, you can't even get a bank account and you need to be able to operate and develop solutions.
Yeah, so there is a very ambiguous situation in the banks in South Korea. So there is no strict guideline that banks in South Korea could participate in some type of blockchain services or some type of crypto project. So one of the main issues for crypto exchanges in Korea is integrate with the bank account with the major banks. There is no official guideline, but they know that government really hates, some department of Korean government really hate crypto. So many of Korean big banks hesitate to integrate with crypto their account, and also very hesitate about developing cryptocurrency or the kinds of service. But many of them really think that blockchain technology is a promising technology they should prepare. So in this stage, most of them are preparing private blockchain service. But so that's the situation. Yeah, most of the projects in the big companies are building the private blockchain now.
Sure. Yeah.
this is a hard question. So there is no official answer in this type of question, I think.
Come to hashed.
Yeah, in early 2017, there were many opportunities for small and strong startups to issue their tokens for get advantage of seniorities. But we all know that in this stage, these days, it's very hard to issue their own tokens and also building their own blockchain network as a small startup or services. So, but as I mentioned, the Clayton will be launched and also Link will be launched, and there will be some more big blockchain platform will be released in Asian market. So in this stage, I recommend to build a decentralized application first without own token. Actually, they can be work without token to build on the apps on top of blockchain. And then if they found the solution and formula to incentivize their own network, and then consider issue tokens on top of the network. So that kinds of process I recommend these days.
Okay. So I think the time's up for us. And CoinDesk Korea has a big room on the second floor where you can meet all the Korean blockchain startups. And at 3 p.m. tomorrow, Seum-lo, Mr. Jung, and his associate lawyer is going to have a chance to explain about Korean regulations and or the legal issues related to blockchain. So if you want to learn more about Korean laws, please visit. And at 4 p.m., Kakao, Mr. Jason Han is going to have a Q&A session in the same room. So please come and visit. Thank you.